Here we go. Patch in D. Mr. D.Mills. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, brother. It is
Good to
so good
see
to see you.
you.
Danny is over at his you live in West Covina, correct?
hmm
Outside of LA, and
hmm
we know each other. So let me give you some background on Danny. Okay. And Danny's one of the most modest human beings on the face of the planet. And so what I will say now will likely is likely going to embarrass him, but he will not show anything about it because that's the way that it goes with him. Um, but Danny is so I was at some bar, okay, when I first came to LA, and there was this dude that came. I mean, this was a crappy bar, man, in LA called Molly Malone's, and I was new in town. I'm like, okay, let's go check. I had a friend that was performing there. Let's go see this guy. After my friend, I was gonna leave. Okay. Then, as I'm sitting there, then a bunch of dudes walk out, and one of them has a six-string bass guitar. Everybody's really cool looking, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay for this one more, like one more show. I have no, and I saw one of the best shows of my life. It's an artist called Eric Zane, which I love dearly. One, is big inspiration for me, and I mean the band was so hot that I literally ran backstage after the show, said, "Please give me your phone numbers. I want to work with you guys." And then we ended up working together. And when you float around LA for a while, and when you float around Hollywood specifically for a while, which is where I've been living for the last 7 years, you bump into so many BS people, just complete fake
Yeah.
BS posers, endless amount of them that are all talk. And the one person that I've ever found in this city who is always on point. In Hebrew, there's a saying that's called "Maim shketim chodrim amok." It means quiet waters. Quiet waters. They trickle deep. They go down deep. And you, for me, Danny, are one of those human beings who is always so grounded, so on point, so smart, and forget smart. I don't even know if you're smart. You might be a total idiot, but you're wise. You're just a wise
Oh
human
man,
being
you're kind,
that I
bro.
really, really, really honor and admire, and one of the most talented sons of guns I've ever met in my life. So I wanted to ask you if you'd share with everyone.
hmm
Um, you started music at a late age, right?
Yeah, compared to a lot of people,
Yeah.
I was like 16.
And what was it that gave you the that at 16? That's funny. When I was 16, I started I think I started playing guitar at 16. But
Mm.
what was it that had you go that it was just clear to you that this is what you were going to do?
I don't know. I had this. How I started was I always had this fascination with music production and how music was made deep down in the back of my mind. And I think out of nowhere, I fell in love with like the piano because all my favorite producers were composing from keyboards. And I also learned that I didn't even know while I was going to high school that we had a piano class. And then another friend was like, "Oh yeah, there's a piano class." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get that next year." So my junior year, I took that piano class, and as I'm in it, I'm not really in it to learn all the music that she's making me learn. I'm in it because I want to figure out how to like get all my ideas out.
Mm.
And once I started tapping into creating something from nothing, because that's pretty much what you do as an artist. You start with a blank canvas and then you have this masterpiece. I kind of got addicted and fell in love with just the creation process and just that feeling. And then later on, she would make me kind of perform, some
Your
things.
teacher, your teacher.
Yeah, my teacher. And then at that point, you start falling in love with the sharing of the creation where you have the ability to affect people in real time. So that's kind of where it started for me.
Amazing, great. And so what, like, now when it comes to what I want to kind of reach in our conversation is I
Hmm.
want to cut through, the ordinary kind of questions
Right.
that, like on every interview and whatever, they all, we always talk about the same stuff. As one has been interviewed 100 times, it's like, give me, let's talk about something interesting. What's your take on this social media stuff? What's your take on the whole likes, followers, that whole business? How do
Hmm.
you deal with that stuff?
I always say if I wasn't in music, I don't even know if I would have social media. It's a tool for us, it's marketing. It's something without social media, we can't afford to do the other avenues of marketing as an independent artist usually. So it's kind of like a free tool to reach people. And unfortunately, I think one of the worst things about the tool is whether we realize it or not, it rates us and we judge based off of numbers. And it can destroy a lot of artists' self-esteem. And they could be the greatest artists in the world, but if they only got 10 likes on something, and famous people are getting tens of thousands of likes, it makes them feel like they're less than when that's never, that's usually not the case. So if I created social media, I would take off the amount of followers you have and the amount of likes and views you get because it really doesn't matter. That information should only be for the artist so they can know, how well their marketing is doing. But we make it public so you can see like, oh, that person's cool or that person's not cool. And a lot of people times we choose what we want to listen to or buy or follow based on how big a number may be. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I totally know what you're saying. Now, I'm kind of leading the witness. Do you think that this is something that's you said that it's detrimental to, paraphrasing, of course, kind of detrimental for artists? You think it's detrimental for artists or it's detrimental for people in general? What's your take on that?
It's in a way where it's kind of like it's not just artists. People who aren't artists who just have social media could suffer from the same exact thing. But it's like how weird it would be if we had a shirt that projected how much money we had in our bank accounts everywhere we went in public. That would be awkward. Like most people wouldn't want to leave their house. You know what I mean?
Totally. Totally.
So so it's kind of like that in a, it's different, but it's kind of like that. Like you pretty much your status on the internet is out and open. Now your talent, you have to tap in and go see that. But a lot of times, how many times do we see people love things that are trash? They're like not good at all, but because enough people are with it, we're like, oh, it must be something, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant, brilliant analogy. And and having said that, I'm sure that there are folks that, um, I mean, when even we think about our, just like as consumers, they're how compelled we are a lot of times to go get the new watch, the new sneakers, the new
Right.
iPhone, a new car, all that stuff, just for the sake of being admired or looking good in the eyes of other people, and
Mm-hmm.
how that can become life. And I can
Yep.
tell you this for myself also as an artist. It's I can tell you, even for me as an artist, like I've been run so many times by completely forgetting about the art and focusing on that stuff, and then it takes someone like you when I look in your direction, like, okay, yeah, I gotta reel it back in,
Mm-hmm.
for that. So awesome, thank you. Um, um, Another thing I wanted to ask you was the who did you learn, like the wisdom that you have. And I'm really not trying to be nice to you. I'm not trying in any way to be like, to be a kiss ass. That's
Uh-huh.
has nothing to do with it. I mean, anyone who knows our business knows the contrast when someone stands out in who they are as a human being. It's thunderous in its sound.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you end up being someone like that? Who did you learn this from? Who influenced you to be like this? because I don't think that I don't know, maybe you did, but I don't think you just popped out into the world like that. Where does that come from?
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess you start with your parents, right? Like your parents, they kind of mold you. You're a reflection of your surroundings as well. So most people's parents are gonna put them in the right position. Not all, but most are gonna kind of teach you, how to be a decent human being. And if there's any faith related, in that, like me, like studying God's word is one of the other things that help, how I interact with people here on earth. But you're also a reflection of your surroundings. So I choose to only put myself around people who are like-minded. You know what I mean? And I choose to put myself around people who I want to be like or I admire. And a lot of times that's like old people.
Mm,
Sometimes you can't hang around people your age. And you should never be the smartest one in the room. Because then at that point you only get dumber at that point. You can't grow. Your cap is already you're already topped off. So for me it was, if you look at the five people closest to you, you literally act just like them. If you think about it deep enough, five people you spend the most time with, they'll usually like the same kind of music, same kind of TV shows and movies, same food, same humor, like because you're like-minded and you bounce off of each other. So a lot of it is just surrounding myself with positivity and encouraging people.
clear. Amazing. Got it.
Hmm.
And um and you're saying that even then, like, especially in our business, when it comes to, like, even like listening to your parents ain't that cool of
Hmm.
a thing generally,
Right.
right? Like, so is there something there is between, I'm looking for the words, between faith,
Uh-huh.
can you talk more about faith and what place that takes on in your life?
Sure. For me, like, like I've had a crazy life. Just like straight up, I like last year alone, I felt like was the worst year of my whole life. Like this year, everybody's complaining about 2020. 2020 is so amazing to me compared to last year. Like with everything going on, with COVID, with there's no work for me as a musician. I'd rather have this than the year I had last year.
So
So for
given who you are, and I
uh-huh,
know that there's something, I'm pretty sure that, out of the people that are watching this, this might this might be like the word that are, the thing that might change their life.
right.
Would you be comfortable in sharing what went on last year?
Oh, sure. So last year, two really big things happened. One of them was I got in a really bad car accident where I was coming home from a gig. It was actually around the time my second album came out, Agape. It was around that. It was probably like within a week's time of that. And it's, for independent artists, when you have a release, it's like the most busy time of your life because you're trying to do everything. And I was trying to do a million things and then gig and then be social and then my family. And then like I was not sleeping and resting as well as I should have been. And I was coming back from a gig, and to be honest, I didn't even feel tired. Like I literally felt okay. And as soon as I got off on my exit, like it had to be less than 5 seconds. I closed my eyes and my car ran into the back of like an 18-wheeler gas truck in front of a gas station.
Wow.
And when that happened, I woke up upon impact, like not knowing what happened. And if you get to see my car, man, the whole front, I don't know if you ever saw it, but
I
the
did.
whole front
Totally
hood was
totaled
gone. Yeah,
completely.
it was completely gone all the way up into the wheels. I should have exploded, probably, more than likely. And I couldn't tell if I was alive or dying. Like it was like I was in that like fuzzy, like I can't tell if I'm okay or not. And eventually I think I realized I was alive and fine. Someone came to my car and said, if you can get out, you should get out. And I got out, sat on the curb, like shaking, like surprised I'm alive, and they checked my vitals and they were like, "Well, you're actually okay. Do you want to go home or go to the hospital?" And I probably should have went to the hospital, but I was like, I'm going home. So the cop took me home and I went home and slept in my own bed that night.
Mm.
And then the next morning I went to the hospital. And I was like, at the time I was like, could have died and left my son without a dad. That was my biggest nightmare. So that changed my whole life. Like after that, that accident happened. And then maybe 2 months later, my son drowned in a pool accident. So now my last worst nightmare wasn't even on my list anymore because my true worst nightmare actually happened. And I was at a gig, and then you get that call that no one ever wants to get. And it's crazy because he was pronounced dead like for about 30 minutes, and they brought him back to life. They brought him back.
And
And then,
this your son Jeremiah,
mhm,
right?
yep,
And Jeremiah was how old?
he was 3.
3 years old.
Yeah.
And just so that people get the age of you and your wife is
Oh, we were 30 and 31.
30 and 31, and your 3 year
Hmm.
old baby boy
Yep.
drowns in a pool accident.
Yeah. So they're all the
Bravo.
way in Palm Springs, and I'm all the way downtown in LA. So I had to like jet leave the session thing I was in, go there, and long story short, he passed away. But we were in the hospital for about a week and a half where he was still with us before, we realized he was completely brain dead. And during that time, um, I had never seen someone else affect another person like my son did laying in a bed unconscious. Like everyone who came to that room said they felt God, and if they didn't know who God was, they were like, it's a peace. It's something about this where it didn't feel like the results that we had. There was still some hope. There was still something. And a lot of people's lives got changed that week in the hospital. And it was just amazing to see and encouraging to see a little boy with his eyes closed affect more people than we do as grown adults on an everyday basis. That encouraged me tremendously as his dad. Not to mention when we did have his service and how it was the same, just echoed, for his homegoing service. So that was my last year. So all of this is not really doing much for me.
Peanuts.
Yeah.
Peanuts. I have to tell you that well, to tell whoever's watching this, that
Hmm.
that service, and when you're talking about that service, it's the memorial service for Jeremiah.
Hmm.
So I drove out. Your church is in Chino Hills.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of people came out. A lot of people
Yeah.
came out for you. It was quite incredible. One of the things that really struck me the most is that some of the, that I mean, a lot of the Hollywoody hotshot types were there, and
Right.
when I was there, I was thinking to myself, these people, a lot, not, you know, a lot of these people wouldn't show up for anybody else, but people show up for you uh, because because of that strong backbone that you got. You know
Mm.
that that so that was one thing that struck me very profoundly. But beyond anything was watching during the memorial service uh, who you were being in the face of that, just losing your 3 year old boy,
Hmm.
a young man, um, and the way that you spoke there was one of the most. It's something that I'm telling you now. Again, I'm not being nice. Literally, one of the most things that I will never forget in my life. How
Mm.
you and your amazing wife spoke. What when you got on that stage to give that memorial service, to share about Jeremiah,
Yeah.
what who was speaking? What had you say those things?
Oh, you already know, man. I wasn't me. I can't think of half of the stuff, dude. I can't think of half of the stuff I said. That was completely God, man. And to me, one of the things that's so evident to me that I can't believe people can't see how really is that um, there's no way I should have that amount of peace that day that you saw me and to speak the way I did. And, I didn't even cry at that service. Like, I was weird to me. I don't even know why I didn't cry. It's not like I purposely tried not to cry. I didn't because I don't know. I think God put so much peace over me to understand, the greater plan in it all. It's something that I would never draw up, but I understand how things work. And I
Yeah,
understand that things are bigger than this very short temporary time we have here.
yeah.
And I don't know, man. It's 100% God. All my friends are saying, "When you gonna start a church and be a preacher?" And I was like, "That's not my thing." Um,
It's gonna have the best damn church band you've ever heard. That's for sure.
Maybe I don't know. I do enjoy teaching, but I don't know, those kind of moments. They're not you. You know what I mean? You're an instrument. You're being used. You're no better than a guitar in the right in the in a skilled musician's hands.
Yeah. Earlier in this kind of episode
Hmm.
before this show, before you came on, we were discussing the idea of um, about getting stopped by things. When there's something that you know that you should be doing
Hmm.
and you don't do it, and there's always some kind of excuse or some kind of reason why not to do it. You know,
Yeah.
um, and these days we can easily I know it from my own life. It's like, oh, I'm not going to work out today because the gym is closed, so I'm not
Right.
going to work out, as if I can't work out in my house.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to do that. So and the greater the catastrophe, the more legitimacy we have not to do the stuff that we know we're supposed to handle,
Yeah.
right? Who knows what can be a bigger catastrophe than losing your child.
Hmm.
um, and now interestingly enough, people are kind of, many of us are stuck in life in one way or another, financially,
Hmm.
morally, God knows how, because of this whole COVID stuff that's going on. And it's a problem,
Yeah.
but it leaves us with a with like a reason, why not. Oh well, because so and so.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was remarkable about you at that service was that you have every reason, or anybody would say about you, that you had every reason to to give up whatever. I get this a lot myself, because I'm like the schmuck that's sitting in a chair, and everybody's like, oh, no one sees what you went through on you, but everybody sees it on me, right? And
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, you have all the reasons, so inspirational, right?
Yeah.
And it's what has you what has you come with that mindset where where whatever happens,
Hmm.
it's like there's this no excuse mentality, there's
Yeah.
no excuse for it. What's that about?
I mean, there's no excuse. You just said it. That's pretty much it. Like, the show must go on. You gotta keep going. And I don't know, man. One thing that being a musician has taught me, someone who, if you do music full time, you're a businessman, whether you realize it or not. You're self-employed, and you have to give yourself your own hours. Like, you have to still wake up early, even though you don't have anywhere to be. You know what I mean? Even during COVID, I don't sleep in. Like, I hate it. I can't sleep in. It's just like my body doesn't work that way. So, like, you have to give yourself a schedule. And it's not for everybody. Some people need a boss to tell them what to do every day, or else they'll never get anything done. Like their parents or something. Like, they need someone to be on them. But when you get to the place where you can be on yourself and you can hold yourself accountable, then you realize you don't have the time or the money for excuses. You got to keep going, or that's how you survive. You have to keep going. And I'm the same way. I was in a good workout, like kind of groove and routine with my gym. And then all of a sudden they was like, we're gonna close the gyms. And I was like, this is about to set me back. And it did a little bit. But then I realized there's so many things, like you said, you can do at home with my little dumbbell and, just doing the things I can do. You got to take the cards you have and you got to like make the best of it always,
Yeah. One more thing. Just yeah. Every word is gold. Um, what I'm really interested in knowing your point of view about the what's been going on lately. You know, the whole issue around the race issue in America.
hmm
I do not know what your point of view is on this, but being who you are for me, I have a feeling like whatever you're going to say about it isn't going to be ordinary. So I wanted to ask you. And by the way, if you do say something that's like totally ordinary, then no judgment. You know, I don't judge anyway. Like
For
whatever,
sure.
brother. Okay, but what's your take on it?
On the, like the racial problem in America and Black Lives
Yeah.
Matter and all that stuff.
Yep.
My take
And
on
and,
that
and
is,
what's your take
oh,
on it, and how has it affected you? Has it even affected you in any way? Because I know
okay.
everybody's gone crazy because of it. No matter
Uh-huh.
what side you're on, everything's totally berserko. So
Right.
how has it affected you?
So how is it affecting me? So for me, so first of all, there are a lot of racist people in America still, unfortunately. Um, Not every white person's crazy and hates you. Not every cop is crazy and hates you, but they are out there, and I've seen them. I grew up in South Central LA most of my childhood, all the way up until I was a teenager. And when you talk about the systemic part of racism, you can see it there. You can see that they're just straight up resources neglected in certain areas for miles and miles and blocks on purpose. School districts overcrowded, you know, kids just not getting the same opportunities, getting fed terrible food. Like that stuff's real. When it comes to like police stuff, that stuff's real too. Like I've been pulled over. Um, God's been good most of my life. I've always had a decent car that looks kind of nice. And I can't tell you how many times I've just been stopped. And, like you see what I got on? I throw this hat off just so I can look like less of a threat. Like stuff
Yeah.
like that because you just learn growing up that not every cop's going to be your friend. I remember my grandmother telling me, if you see a cop, don't ever run because they're going to shoot you.
Hmm.
Like, why would anybody have to tell that to their grandson? Is crazy. Cops are like they should be like superheroes. They should be like, oh, I need to run to you for help, not ever run away from you. And so there's that whole side, and then it's blown up right now because they killed another person with George Floyd, and I think they're upset because they just want justice. That's what you want, and that's the right thing to fight for. Everyone should fight for justice. That's that's all we have when it comes to law. And if our law is corrupt and crooked, then it's like, who can you trust? Now there are some things that I don't necessarily agree with. Um, and I think a lot of people have to question certain things because a lot of things are for political gain. So there's a lot of incentive at stake for people to kind of hype up certain things. So although there is a true race problem, it could be exploited and you could be exploiting people with real hurting, you know, issues and problems just for your gain at stake. There's a lot of money being passed around that people don't realize. Like even Black Lives Matter, as well intended as it sounds, people don't stop and question, where is my donation? Like, where is that actually going? And they don't realize that a lot of that money is going to politicians. And that's the messed up stuff that, drives me crazy. It's the under the table stuff. Like
The divisiveness, the manipulation.
the manipulation. And that's just as bad as the in your front, in your face racism to me.
Hmm.
Those things need to be fought on that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of there's so many things I could talk about with that
I, I
that
was
umbrella.
I was just talking. I had lunch with a friend yesterday, and we were also talking about he's another incredible artist. And we were talking about the race issue, and he was asking me. He asked me a question. He's black, and he
Hmm.
asked me the question: Do you know what it's like to have to hide a piece of yourself?
Mm.
um, whenever you're going into into a meeting or when you're on your way somewhere. And I mean, it was a great question. I really, I really looked at it, and
Yeah,
I thought to myself, you know what? Um, I said, I'm kind of sorry if this isn't the answer you want to hear, but I do know a little bit about that. I can't say that it's to the same degree because I'm the last person that can ever judge. I don't know to what degree, but I know,
yeah,
like I know that like, and it might not be the same thing at all, but like even the like my Judaism, before I go
yeah,
into a meeting, I make sure that this is in my shirt, and I would never, and I wouldn't walk around Europe, for example, with any kind of something like that,
yeah.
right?
No, I get it.
Which is totally given by my past. My grandparents are Holocaust survivors. Most of my family was exterminated by the Nazis, and that stuff kind of carries over, right? The way
Yeah.
that we know that it does, and there's that fear there. So I kind of know what it's like, but I would never ever judge, right?
Hmm.
But but it really gets me thinking, for example, that when I go on Facebook and I see a headline
Hmm.
that it says Black Lives Matter, spray painted Black Lives Matter on a synagogue, and
Mm.
it's anti-Semitism, right?
Mm. Yeah,
All the Jews suddenly start, and they say it's anti-Semitism, and then I think to myself, hang on a second, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the it sounds like, what I'm trying to say is that it kind of sounds like no matter what's going on, you kind of doubt you question what's going on for
You can
yourself.
question motives, and you, unfortunately, some people have great motives and a great heart, but most of it that you see up front, at least, is agenda based. Because if people don't like when I say what I'm about to say, but it's 100% truth, so I'm
Say
gonna
it,
say it
man. This
again.
is the best part of the show. It's just say it.
So I'm gonna say it again. If people really cared as much as they care, they march and they fight and they do all these things. Not one person is marching and fighting against the abortion industry, which statistically kills more black people than anything.
Mm.
More black babies are killed in the womb. Like, what's a better way to stop a whole race? Kill them before they even start. The abortion industry in America has actually killed more people than the Holocaust. That's crazy to me. Like that, there should be no numbers like that. So the fact that black and brown people are unbiasedly targeted, like they're biasedly targeted. They're literally the most killed race in the womb out of all other races. That's racism to me right there. But you don't see people marching for that. You don't see people, on the news about that because it doesn't fit the agenda.
Mm.
It always has to fit the agenda.
I got it. Now, a little side note that whoever might be watching this, either now live or later, and hopefully you'll share this with your people, if you choose to. But
No,
whoever's
it's already shared.
oh, great. So whoever's watching this is, um, you might be watching this right now and experiencing some cognitive dissonance from what Danny just said. You might, "Oh, I thought this guy was so freaking amazing, and now he's just a piece of trash. It turns out that he's some, Bible thumping, blah, blah, blah." No, no.
That's
Honor,
funny.
honor, honor the courage and the bravery and the difference in the point of view. Okay. By the way, I
Mhm.
didn't know what he was going to say when when I invited you on. I had no clue what you were going to say. And for all I
Mhm.
knew, you could have come on here and told me, "Listen, you fool, you white blue eyed Jew, what the hell are you doing?" I don't know what you're going to say. You could say anything, but I'm here. I'm here for it. And
Yeah.
whatever it is, I love you, I respect you, I honor you, and that's it. And so
Mhm.
if anybody's watching this and having like a little minor conniption in their head right now, then go get yourself a drink or something,
Go
and
get
and
yourself a drink and do some research.
mm,
Don't just watch CNN all day. That's what I would say.
okay, okay, I got it. All right. Anything else? I think that this was. I'm sure that one of the people watching, Warren Weinzoff, says that he wrote, "What an inspiration! Good parents and faith in God create amazing human beings." Amen to that.
Yep.
What's uh, by the way, if, in the next like few minutes, if there's anybody that's watching right now that wants to ask Danny a certain question, from whoever's watching, just write it in the comments, and we'll get another minute to, question from whoever's watching. That'd be great. I want to ask you, um, what do you want to leave people with? Like right now, you have an opinion. I mean, you have the opportunity to be on. Here we are. We're talking. This is
Hmm.
being recorded. It's being broadcasted. Not to many people, but it's always going to be out there, God willing.
Yep.
If you knew that you were going to get, hit by a bus tomorrow morning, which you would probably survive because it's already happened, right? But if you knew that that was going to happen, what would you want to? What's the message that you would want to leave people with?
Um, God loves you. God loves you, and you need to care more about truth than you care about being right, than you care about being popular. And if your pursuit is truth and not happiness, you will find joy in replace.
Mm,
Joy is greater than happiness. Happiness is temporary. Joy comes from God. Any gift from God is everlasting. Simple.
so do not pursue happiness. Pursue truth.
For the pursuit of happiness will leave you continually wanting more. It runs out. I can make you happy right now. I could say something really nice to you, or I could send you some money right now. You'll be happy. And I guarantee in 2 weeks, that happiness that you got today will be gone. You probably would have spent the little bit of money I'm able to give you. Happiness always runs out, and you have to refill it. God's joy is you don't need to keep tapping in. You don't need to search for people to give you anything. You can be isolated, alone, in quarantine, and have joy because you're not dependent on an outside thing to keep you happy. And if you seek truth, you get God's wisdom. And then you pray for the knowledge to use the wisdom appropriately. Because what good is knowing things and not applying it?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It, drop. Mic drop. That's all I got to say about. Absolutely, and talk about my promise with this show is that people will not get the ordinary stuff that everybody talks about. One of the
Mhm.
most ordinary things that drives me crazy hearing all the time is all that matters is being happy. Do what you love. Do what
Right.
feels right. Da, da,
Mhm.
da, da. For me, it's always. I've always thought that was kind of crazy. What do you mean do what you love? So if I want to feel
There's a
great,
lot of things we love and like and that feel good that we shouldn't do and that would hurt other people. So you got to be careful when
absolutely.
people say that.
Yeah, and that's kind of become the status quo. I think the vast majority of the of us for of us first world people in the Western
Yeah.
world kind of subscribe to that. We're here to be happy, and questioning that is a big deal. But I think you said it so incredibly eloquently, and thank you for that. I'm sure it got people's wheels moving in their brain a little bit. Greer Williams here asks, did your son's passing impact your musical expression or writing?
Yeah, it definitely has. It's I'm writing my third album right now. I'm about halfway done. And yeah, it's just a different, I mean, when you hear it, it's just a different color than the other two. It's still very similar and it's me, but it's just I did a lot of things last year and it wasn't all bad things like that. Also, I did a lot of traveling last year at the end of the year where I got to go away. And one of the trips I took was I did a tour in Africa,
Mm.
and then I also took a trip to Jamaica, and I got to go away from America for a little bit, and I got to see, my homeland, which I had never been. It was my first time on the continent, and when I came back, I felt so full. I was away from my studio for so long, so I just had all this music kind of bubbling and all these emotions inside of me. So since I've been home, I've written a lot of songs, and I'm excited for everybody to, hear them once they all get put together.
Incredible. I could only imagine. My warmest recommendation, I have it kind of on the screen right now, is to go on iTunes or wherever it's available. You can tell us it's a second record called Agape, right?
Hmm.
You can look up Agape, D.Mills, um, and I mean remarkable music. Look, D up on YouTube, on social media, and wherever it is. I mean, talk about um, what really matters. Like I shared with you yesterday, was that we all want connection to extraordinary people. So I mean, if there was anything that we were talking about here today for whoever's watching, and you are you're liking or you're loving, you're connected with whatever uh, Danny has been laying down for us here, then I promise you that once you hear the music, you will hear the embodiment of that through musical form. And it's my greatest recommendation. Go check them out. Okay, put them in your car, have them on your phone, whatever.
Thanks,
um,
man.
um, Last remarks, any last words for today that you want to share?
Not really. It's just thank you, and you've always been a huge inspiration for me. I'm always encouraged every time I see you, and all the progress that you're doing in your personal life and your rehab and your just unwillingness to just give up and just to keep going. And um, dude, you've inspired me since I met you, and I just want you to know, however you think you feel about me, it's mutually respected.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I really do appreciate that. I always got your back anytime. And in this world, we have a lot of work to do. In our business, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of influencing for a lot of people, to just believe this. Yeah, God, I think we both can agree that we have a reason why God put us on this earth, and we're doing our best to fulfill on that one way or another. And we're going
hmm,
to stumble a whole lot of times on the way. As
definitely.
long as we don't kind of get angry at each other, it's going to
Hmm.
be all right. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Danny Mills, brother, you're a true blessing. Thank you for who you are always, and thanks for being such a contribution to whoever's watching this. It's a true blessing. Thank you.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, man.
Blessings.
Bye bye. So that was Danny Mills. I mean, can you get what can you say about that? What can you say about that? Unbelievable. I have, you can see on the screen here, Agape. It's a second record. He has the first record, which is also amazing. I mean, you'll hear so much of an incredible fusion of sounds, um, from R&B and soul and pop and rock. A true a jack of all trades, but not in the cheesy kind of jack of all trades. I mean, this guy, you can't, I'll never understand really how it happened. But I met him. He was a keyboard player when I met him, and then he somehow turned into a professional and professionally endorsed bass player and touring, musician. Crazy, incredible talent, a gift from God to us all. It would be stupid, and for you not to check out some of Danny's music. So check it out. Um, um, that's it. Closing remarks. I want to really thank you all for sticking around for about an hour and a half, being here with me, being with Danny. Listen to me blab for so long. I'm learning. Okay, I'm learning how to keep it concise. And so I'm going to get better at this, I promise you. And I'm committed that this is not just another podcast. I'm committed that this will be your alternative to whatever the other stuff that you're hearing that is not serving you. I want this to be of a service to you, that you leave this broadcast a bigger human being, a more powerful, loving, human being with peace of mind and with more energy, and knowing that my last words to you, and I will be closing every time that I do this, I will be closing with these words. You will never convince me that you don't get to say how your life goes. You get to say how your life goes. You get to say, no one else says. There are no excuses. No one else says how it goes for you. In the face of any circumstance, you can be powerful and you can be a leader in the face of anything. You get to say how your life goes, and you will never convince me otherwise. I love you guys. Thank you. Tune into the next time of Life, Leadership, and the Pursuit of Good Music. I hope you love this. If you did, tell me what you loved about it in the comments. If you didn't, let me know what you hated about it, and if I should just shut up forever. I'll take the criticism, baby. I put myself out here. I'm willing to take it. Okay. I love you guys so much. You're the best. See you soon. Keep yourself posted, and pursue truth, not happiness. Bye-bye.
Roxanne.